We're talking to Astralis' coach, Charlotte, over here. He's a little bit sleepy, but he's here, and we're gonna get him talking with a couple of questions over here. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. All right. So let's just wind the clock back a couple of months. You are at the Charlotte Major. You're in the grand final. It's a tense, close loss against DZ. After that, when you come back, what was the mood in the team? After like the initial emotions.
Um, right after we lost, obviously, nobody likes losing. We weren't happy, I wouldn't say. But once we got a couple days, kind of reset and rest a bit, we talked as a team. Everyone was pretty proud of where we came as a team because, you know, I don't, and nobody's been that far on this team yet, except for Shuttle. He's the only person who's ever played even in the grand final before.
Mm.
So, it was still an accomplishment in itself to get that far. Then we came back, looked at some things we could fix, and then that's what we've been working on this offseason.
Indeed, and as you said, that was of course as your team and for most of the players on the team, it was the first ever international event, and you guys went straight into the grand finals.
Yep.
Now, is it safe to say, without TSM, the world champions here, or DZ, the Charlotte Major champions in Berlin, you are the favorites to win this Berlin Major?
Um, I don't think it's really my place to say that. A team can't really say they're the favorites. It's kind of like, everyone else to say that. But I think that if we play the game and uphold our standards the way that we want to do it, then I think that we have a good shot at winning this.
Indeed, definitely looks like it. And you don't want to be, I guess, doing a gotcha with EG back in the, what was it,
Yeah.
Raleigh Major? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So of course, the Brazilians, of course, they have been also playing domestic BO1s on land, just like the
Yep.
NAL. And this time they will presumably have full visas. The full team is going to be there.
Mhm.
I don't think we've had confirmations yet, but I think they're all going to make it. So, how much of a threat are the Brazilians? Is there any particular team that you're watching out for?
I think that all Latin America teams have a really good grasp on how the game should be played currently. I think they're all a threat to play against. I think that if we slip up and we don't do our prep work, properly prepare for these teams, that they will, you know, they can beat us definitely. We just got to make sure we don't take any of them lightly.
Anyone you're watching out for particularly? Anyone that's a threat you think?
I mean, Fury's in our group, so they're the first focus right now, and
Yeah.
then after that, we'll see who we got.
All right, fair enough. Now, you guys have, of course, won the NAL two stages in a row, top,
Mhm.
which is an incredible achievement when you look at the rest of the field. How are you guys so consistent, not only in best of ones, but also best of threes? Like, you see teams like TSM who are really good at best of threes, they are struggling extremely hard in BO1, but you guys are like cruising through both.
Um, I think it really comes down to like the standard that we set in practice. We practice really hard every day, and our goal in practice a lot of times, to learn something new every round. Like we kind of embrace making mistakes. I've said this before in Hunter as well. It's like something that we look to do in practice. Like we push things to the limit a lot of times, and allow us kind of see like gaps in our play a lot more compared to like just taking like I know a lot of teams they kind of just take the same things and practice it over and over again. We practice some things over and over again, but a lot of times it's something new almost every time. So when it comes to these matches, nothing really catches us off guard because we played against so many different play styles with so many different things ourselves trying against it.
Yeah, that would definitely be, I think, a little bit unique. Is that unique in the NAL, do you think?
Um, yeah, definitely. It's most teams that I've been on. I don't know how every team practices, obviously, so I can't say it with certainty. But I know a lot of teams, kind of like they have their takes. They like to practice their attack takes for certain sites over and over again. Then like that's something that we've kind of abused is that we tend to disrupt that a lot in our defense when we play so aggressive. A lot of times
Coming
when that
from
happens,
Disrupt.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I get that, yeah. But we play a little more aggressive sometimes. It tends to disrupt some of their attack flow, and that's same thing in our attack. We like to play a little bit faster than their defense can sometimes handle, and it does us pretty well because we're used to playing that speed constantly, and like adapting on the fly all the time, like we do in practice. It treats us well when it comes to these matches, and we need to do something to kind of throw these teams off.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the meta has shifted to rewarding teams who are adaptable rather than teams who have like the basics down pat. Like for
Mhm.
example, Empire struggled a little bit, even though like the old Empire struggled a little bit,
Yeah.
even though they made a couple of grand finals recently. Um, Now, we've also seen the issue of fatigue affect a lot of other teams. We saw, I mean, a couple of teams after SI they were extremely fatigued. For example, Sonics, DZ miss out now on Berlin. I assume there's a little bit of fatigue involved as well from that Charlotte run and just lethargy. Like we already won the major. How do you guys avoid that kind of fatigue and lethargy setting in?
Um, fatigue and burnout is something that is very hard to kind of avoid. We talk a lot about burnout management, and we have a lot of different techniques you can use for it. Like there's stuff like it's basically like completing the stress cycle, and we always talk
Mhm.
about that. Um, it kind of comes down to each individual on the team, along with me making sure I'm not working the guys ridiculously hard constantly, which I have done in the past before, which has led to a little bit of burnout for us. But a lot of it is kind of on an individual basis. It's finding what creates these stressors for you when they build up, and then working through that whole cycle, and then essentially doing that consistently, and then that kind of pushes away burnout further and further away from you. Um, it's impossible to completely avoid. I will say, especially in esports, it's kind of like if you're not working, the other team is, but we do our best to find techniques to work through, and we have a really great performance coach too. His name is Taylor Johnson, and he does a great job for us in terms of working
Nice.
for that kind of stuff.
So, I mean, for those who are unfamiliar, what is exactly this stress cycle? How does it start? How does it end?
So basically, like your stress cycle is anything that kind of adds stress on you. So if it's like your game, your performance that like you have to worry about coming up, like that'll add stress to you. Something that's happening in your personal life that'll add stress to you, and then wait, any little thing like that, and then ways to relieve it are basically, you can do it through meditation, do it through like a healthy emotional release. You can do it through companionship, laughter. There's all these different things that basically work through it, and we could go more in depth on it. I don't really know if
Yeah.
we want to do it here, but basically stuff like that, and
Yeah.
you do that, and it helps release it. And that's basically how the stress cycle works when it comes like building up and then releasing it at the end.
Fair enough. So not running away from your problems. That's
Yeah,
what we need to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, something I need to learn maybe. But yeah, I guess zooming out from your team a little bit more, how far ahead is NA compared to the other region? I assume, you talked about how, Latin America and specifically BR6 is pretty dang close. But how far
Mm.
away are EU and APAC, you think, from NA and Brazil?
Um, hmm. I'd say I think that all the regions are getting pretty close now. I'd say at Charlotte, it was a bit more of a spread between them. Like I think that EU was pretty far behind. I
Mhm.
think Latin America didn't get like an actual showing because they had like I think what was it, two teams that were playing like from online. Half their team was like Team One and W7M, I
Three
believe.
teams were, yeah,
Yeah,
three teams
yeah,
were online, and then Team One got like a couple of
yeah,
players in. Yeah.
yeah. So it was like they didn't actually get a proper showing. I think they were there. APAC. Uh, it's going to be interesting to see how well Damwon Key and Elevate play. I know that Damwon Key has played well internationally before, and Elevate, Onigiri, and like those guys, they've also played pretty well internationally. So we'll have to see. I think it's going to be a, pretty competitive major, though. I think it's going to be fairly close compared to the last one.
Speaking of that, like how every region is kind of closed, is seeding worth it anymore at this point? Beyond prize money.
Um, you're talking about like regional seating, kind of like
Yeah,
getting
correct.
first
Yeah,
internet. Yeah.
regional seeding, like P1,
I
P4.
think I don't think it's like that huge of a deal, but I do think it does still kind of offer a little bit of a boost, knowing that we're not going to be, with FaZe or knowing we're not going to be with, one of those guys in our groups,
Yeah.
helps out a little bit, I guess.
Fair enough, yeah. Because like we've had like the Brazilians on like CGG Live, and they've been like saying like, I was just wasting our time playing Copa Elite Six because all of us are basically at the same level. Okay, speaking of your group though, you
Mhm.
talked about Furia in your group. Elevate, you also mentioned Elevate, Eminem, Furia. These guys are in your group. Is this pretty much the easiest group that you could have gotten, being how the seeding worked out?
Um, I'll be honest with you, those guys like they play the game fast, so I don't know if that actually be the easiest group for us. I'm keeping it frank. They're probably
But
like
you play
um
fast too, so you're ready
we,
for
we,
that.
we do. We do. It'll be it'll definitely be some matches. I'm not gonna say it's easy. I think that all those teams, they deserve to be here. So, we'll just have to see how it plays out. I can't really say that it'd be the easiest group.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't want to do a gotcha again. But
Yeah.
like Eminem specifically, I mean, you watched them qualify yesterday.
Yep.
They struggle quite a bit with the pacing. You think you can exploit that?
Um, yeah, we have a game plan we want to do for those guys, and we'll our tempo will that'll be kind of one of the goals, controlling tempo against them. Don't want to go too in depth. You know, they can
Yeah,
watch this video
of
before.
course,
Yeah.
yeah. So now, for you guys, obviously, the goal at the Berlin Major is to win. So here's a different question to kind of close this out. What happens if you don't?
Um, you know, we're still a young team. I think that we're still growing. I mean, this team has only been together for what, about 6 months now since I joined. So like since me and Forrest joined, it's only been, not even a year yet.
Hmm.
So, we're doing a good job leading up to this. I think that it would obviously be a disappointment if we don't perform the way we think we should. I think the biggest goal is to make sure, we perform to our own personal standard every day. And like we do that at that major and we still lose, I don't think there's anything to be disappointed about. Now, if we don't do that, then we'll have to talk about some things, but I don't think that that'll be an issue. I think everyone here is hungry and, I think they're willing to go in there and give it everything.
Exactly. And sorry, a final question.
Yeah.
How much power loss does iconic shaving off his afro give him?
I don't know. I think that kind of, that might boost him a little bit right there. That gives him a little
Ah.
tenacity. Got that shaven head. He's looking a little bit
Weight
older. I like,
reduction for extra speed.
yeah, a little aerodynamic flow going on.
Fair enough, man. Thank you very much, Carl, for
Alrighty,
entertaining
appreciate it,
me,
man.
and good luck at the Berlin Major.